of Worship, your source for commentary and discussion on worship, theology, and culture. I'm your host, Dr. Jonathan Michael Jones. Well, hello and welcome to the Active Worship Podcast. This is Dr. Jonathan Michael Jones. Thank you for joining me today. I am glad that we are, it's kind of bittersweet. We're approaching the end of the Psalm Project. I set out on this early 2022, and we will soon be finishing. And sort of like I did in my doctoral dissertations, when I reached the end point, when I was approaching that, I just sprinted to the end. And so that's sort of what I'm doing here. So you'll see several episodes posted at the same time. And I've set Psalms 141 through 146. So they'll be posted, and then we'll have 4 more to go. So we are approaching the end. When I finish, as I said, I will have this compiled as a book of chord charts. And then I'm going to put all of these psalms on an album streaming called the Psalm Project. And then I will also have my favorites on the next Psalms, Hymns, and Spiritual Songs album that I put out. Most of the albums that I've put out have been mostly hymns with a few psalms, and this one will be mostly psalms with a few hymns. And so we're approaching the end. And we are here today in Psalm 141. It is a Psalm of David. As I mentioned, the next several will be Psalms of David. And so we are here in Psalm 141. It is a prayer to God, asking Him to hear the plea of the one petitioning. So, let me read for you Psalm 141, and then we'll get into my commentary on it. O Lord, I call upon you. Hasten to me. Give ear to my voice when I call to you. Let my prayer be counted as incense before you, and the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice. Set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep watch over the door of my lips. Do not let my heart incline to any evil, to busy myself with wicked deeds, in company with men who work iniquity. And let me not eat of their delicacies. Let a righteous man strike me, it is kindness. Let him rebuke me, it is oil for my head. Let my head not refuse it. Yet my prayer is continually against their evil deeds. When their judges are thrown over the cliff, then they shall hear my words, for they are pleasant. As when one plows and breaks up the earth, so shall our bones be scattered at the mouth of Sheol. But my eyes are toward you, O God, my Lord. In you I seek refuge. Leave me not defenseless. Keep me from the trap that they have laid for me, and from the snares of evildoers. Let the wicked fall into their own nets, while I pass by safely. So Psalm 141, it begins by calling upon the Lord. O Lord, I call upon you, hasten to me. In other words, swiftly return your answer, O Lord. And then it says, give ear to my voice when I call to you. And then in verse 2, let my prayer be counted as incense before you. This is a simile, and it comes from the sacrificial worship of ancient Israel and suggests that this particular psalm was set in that context. And so the incense was valuable and pleasing to the Lord. We see that in Exodus 30. And the psalmist here asks for his prayers to be received favorably. In Revelation 8, an angel carries the prayers of the saints together with incense to the throne of God. And that's a similar idea here. Verse 3, set a guard over my mouth. The writer foresees that he will be tempted to speak unwisely, and so he shows forthright humility in asking God to deter him from those actions. Verse 4, do not let my heart incline to any evil. This indicates any sort of compromise of his love relationship with the Lord. Verse 5, let a righteous man strike me. You may think that's a strange prayer, asking for someone to strike you, but a wise person accepts correction. And the person that refuses to listen will ultimately be destroyed. Proverbs 29:1, he who is often reproved yet stiffens his neck will suddenly be broken beyond healing. So reproof and correction, that is something that a wise person desires. Verse 9, keep me from the trap that they have laid for me, speaking of evil people, and from the snares of evil doers. That's an image of hunting, when someone lays a trap for an animal. Verse 10, let the wicked fall into their own nets. We've seen this sort of language before. In other words, let what they tried to do to me happen to them. So this is a prayer before the Lord, and again, as I mentioned, probably said in some sort of liturgical context. This is a good example of praying for the Lord to help in the time of need, and that is okay to do in the context of worship. Worship doesn't have to be just all cheerful, joyful. It can be lamenting. It can be an earnest plea for God to heal, to act. And that's what this is. This is set in a minor key, and the elements of this prayer are found in this musical setting, and that is why I set it in this minor key, an earnest plea for God to answer prayer. So here is Psalm 141 set to music. Thank you for listening today to the Active Worship Podcast. This is Dr. Jonathan Michael Jones.
I call you, Lord, make haste to me. When I call, hear my plea, and let my prayer as incense rise, raised hands as sacrifice. Restrain my mouth, Lord, my lips guard. From evil keep my heart, from deeds with those who work deceit. Let me not with them meet. When just men strike me in reproof, such kindness I'll accept. Take it as a soothing oil, my head will not reject. And yet I will continually cry out in prayer to you, to protest all the evil deeds that wicked people do. Down from the side of rocky cliffs, their leaders will be cast. The pleasant words I speak to them, they then will hear at last. As when the farmer plows the earth and opens up the ground, so at the grave's devouring mouth our scattered bones are found. And so to you, O Son